Does higher FPS equal smoother animation? This is a question asked by countless people with a variety of answers. And to be honest, I'm a little conflicted on this question myself. So, as an animator, there's only one way to answer. That's right, in this video, I animated at 6, 16, and 60 FPS, not only to answer this question, but to also prove I can animate smoothly. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to of course another video. Now I'm actually recording this on New Year's Day, so I hope you guys had a good New Year's. I hope you guys had a good Christmas. So of course the first animation I'm gonna do here is gonna be at 6 FPS. Now I want to do like a simple animation, so when I end up doing the 60 FPS, oh my gosh. So when I do the 60 FPS version, it's not that difficult. So I have these two figs here, Super Saiyan and Base Goku. And you guys probably already know what I'm going to do. It's literally just going to be a simple transformation. But the difference, of course, is that this one is going to be at 6 FPS. Then we can move to 16 and then 60. Now for the 6 FPS animation, because it's not that deep, I'm not even going to do pose to pose. I think it's just smart to just, go with the flow. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I've never animated at such a low FPS, so I'm not really sure any tactics. The obvious one is to not double frame, because that would just make it look extremely choppy. So a strange pet peeve I have with animating is animating two legs like this. It's so annoying. Alright, we've made it to him jumping up. Now let me see how this looks. It looks alright. I feel like I could redo the arms, which I'm actually gonna do right now. Alright, this is about the last frame until he transforms. So we're just gonna delete you, put you here. I'm not gonna use any movie clips because I don't think any of my movie clips are compatible with 6 FPS. So it's probably just better to leave it as is, but only a couple more frames to go. I didn't expect this one to take long. It's been probably like 5 minutes, but it is 6 FPS. So let's see, I think maybe we can add one more frame. You know what? It looks fine. Alright, with that, the 6 FPS animation is finished. Now, I obviously didn't expect this to take long. This is only 13 frames, so I mean, that's to be expected. But at the end of the day, this is as easy as it's gonna get. It's only gonna get harder from here. I want you guys to actually rate the 3 animations and put your own thoughts on if you think higher FPS equals better animation. So you've been looking at this animation for a while. I want you guys to put a timestamp or something and then write your comments on it. Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, because I don't think it's fair for me to rate it if we're trying to answer the question of if higher FPS equals better animation, if that makes sense. So yeah, the 6 FPS animation is done, and it's time to move on to 16. And here we are in 16 FPS. Now this is the FPS that I usually use. I actually usually use 15, but honestly it shouldn't be that much of a difference. I will actually do pose to pose for this one and just follow the basic things that I do when I usually animate. Like all my animating your videos and stuff like that, that's all at 15 FPS. So this is my home. This is where I thrive. So yeah, he's gonna go in this position, jump up like this, and then transform. All the poses are done, and last step is to actually start animating. Now with 16 FPS, it should actually be a lot easier. Well, not easier, but it does open the window for some new techniques like double framing, which I could have used for, you can use it for any FPS, but it works better with higher FPS rates. So that's really only when I would say the minimum is 15 to double frame. So keep that in mind if you try using, the techniques in this video. I'm gonna try not to double frame as much so it could be a smoother animation, but at the same time, we have 60 FPS right after this, so I'm gonna have to save all my time and energy for that. Alright, and here's the transformation. Now last time we transformed, it was on the 10th frame, but now on 16 FPS, it's taken a whole 26 frames. So more than double, which really shows how much extra effort has to go in the more frames you add to an animation, or the more frames you animate at, I should say. and I think the animation is complete. Now you guys might notice during the end, or maybe you didn't, I did use tween frames a little bit. Now I've said this countless times, I don't hate tween. A lot of you guys think I hate tween, I don't. I just think when it's overused, it can look really bad. Yeah, tween frames are completely acceptable, but another thing with 16 FPS is now I can finally use movie clips. So we're gonna grab this effect here, put it here, place it behind, make it the same color as the hair, make it glow a little, and then just copy paste the effect. And that already looks 10 times better. Now we can up this one more time by actually doing a charge up. But yeah, with that, I think the final animation is complete. 16 FPS, it did take a little bit longer. This one now is 47 frames, which I think the last one was about. The last one is 16 frames. So, you know, a big jump, a big step up, but that's to be expected when you're using higher FPS rates. This is like my normal animation rate, so it probably just looks like any other of my animations. Either way though, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You can leave a timestamp, rate it out of 10, and maybe even compare it to the 6 FPS animation. But I think you guys have had enough time to look at this, which means it's time to move on to the final animation, which is at 60 FPS. Alright, it's day 2, which means it's now time to animate at 60 FPS. Now, something I was thinking, or something I thought you guys might be thinking, is why don't I just make one animation and then just turn the FPS down? Well, it's a little bit more complicated because with higher FPS rates, you have to use different techniques so the animation comes out looking okay. For example, this is the 6 FPS animation. Now, if I wanted to turn the FPS up to 16, I could, but it ends up looking like this, way too fast. Same with the 16 FPS animation. If I could change it to 6 if I wanted to, but it ends up looking like this, way too slow. So yeah, that's why I'm making 3 different animations, and that's why the 60 FPS one is probably gonna take the longest amount of time. So here we are, turn the FPS all the way up to 60, which is actually the max. Save as, and it's pretty much the same as I've always been doing for the past 2 animations. I will do pose to pose. I'm just gonna move 2 keyframes like this just to show you guys how fast 60 FPS really is. That's absurd. That's absurd. So yeah, the same principle. He crouches down, jumps up, and transforms. There's probably not going to be a lot of talking. These videos are supposed to kind of just be like short filler videos, if you will. Obviously, I'm still going to do animating your videos this year, but these are just to fill the gaps in, you know, be more consistent. So if the editing is a little bit dumbed down, that's why. If I don't talk much, that's why. But, you know, it's better than nothing. It's better than not posting for 5 months at a time. For 60 FPS, I don't think there's a reason why you wouldn't double frame every frame or even triple frame every frame. You're doing 60 frames a second, so I will actually be double framing every frame. But even still, this is going to be time consuming, so... The thing with 60 FPS, or one of the good things with 60 FPS is that sometimes with lower frame rates, obviously the frame is going to be there for longer, so you're going to have to put more attention into making those frames look good. But with 60 FPS, all the ugly frames, or I like to call them ugly frames, they're only there for a split second. Like frames like this. Frames like these are what I like to call ugly frames. Luckily, that's only going to be there for like 2 milliseconds. Alright, I've animated all the way up to where Goku crouches down, and this has already taken 20 frames. Says a lot. That says a lot. Alright, we've made it to the jump. Animation looks pretty smooth so far. I will have to animate the head separately. I don't know if you guys can see, but his head is like bopping around like crazy. So I will animate the head separately, but from the crouch to the jump, it took 60 frames, which is about a second. Wow, maths. 60 frames a second. It took 60 frames to make a second of animation when I'm animated at 60 frames a second. Is that not crazy, guys? Alright, we've made it to the transformation, and we've done it at exactly 97 frames, which compared to 6 FPS where the transformation only took 10 frames, and compared to 16 FPS where the transformation only took 28. Alright, the animation is essentially done. All that's left to do is add a couple more ease-in frames and reanimate the head, which, because I've already been recording for this long and I'm kind of scared of losing all this footage, I'm going to do off camera. And with that, the 60 frames per second animation is complete. Now, I don't want to give my thoughts on this animation. I actually want you guys to give your thoughts. Comment down below which one is like the better animation, like which FPS is more suitable. But yeah, if you can, please hype this video up, like and subscribe, obviously, and I'll see you guys in the next video.